hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this official digital tour of DWRI Letterpress. We're a commercial print shop located on the west side of Providence. My name is Lois Harada. I graduated with a BFA in printmaking in 2010. Ooh, that was a funny almost gaffe. And Dan Wood is also on the tour with us, who is the shop owner, and he graduated also with a BFA in printmaking in 1994. I had to ask 3 times. I want to say thank you so much to the RISD Alumni Club of Rhode Island, who is co-hosting with us this evening. They're part of the RISD Alumni Association, and you've heard me say thank you, Tway, once or twice already. Tway is helping us out on the back end of things. So a little bit about how this tour will work. Oh, we'll spend about 20 to 25 minutes talking a little bit about the history of letterpress printing and what it is that we do at the shop. So we'll try to talk at you as little as we can, but rather try and show you the shop and some of the equipment that we use on a daily basis. The back half of our hour will be a Q&A, and you can actually use Zoom to type in questions as you have them. And Dan and I will do our best to answer as many as we can in the last half of our tour. So with that, I am going to hand things over to Dan. Dan is not ready yet. Oh, but you can see Dan getting closer to the camera. So here he is, Dan Wood.
Okay. Hi, everybody. It's really strange to be talking to a computer without seeing any faces out there. So I'm just going to imagine I'm not totally talking to myself. All right. Thank you very much, Lois. My name is Dan Wood. I'm the founder and owner of this print shop here, which is DWRI Letterpress. We are a commercial letterpress printing shop. I've been in business under this name since about 2002, 2003, but I've been making my living as either offset or letterpress printer since about 1994, right out of RISD printmaking department. If you're wondering what, do you have any questions yet? Nope, okay. If you're wondering what commercial letterpress is these days, basically, letterpress is a mechanized form of relief printing. That's kind of the most basic way of describing it. Traditionally, well, I'll describe relief printing for those who don't have any printmaking experience. So relief printing basically means you have a raised surface. So you may be asking yourself, what's he talking about? What is relief printing? It's a question mark, right? So relief printing basically means it's a wood cut. If you've ever done a linoleum cut, potato print, whatever. Relief printing basically is when you have a raised surface and you have cut away or you have otherwise etched away from that raised surface, right? You ink that raised surface and then kablamo. That gets impressed into a piece of paper or some other material to make the impression. So it's like one of the most basic forms of printing. Here at DWRI for commercial letterpress, what that means is we're doing anything from, commercial invitations, right? This was a fundraiser for the Newport Tree Conservancy, Newport, Rhode Island, which we just printed. And you can see what's significant about these is, I don't know if you're able to see this or not, but there's basically an impression into the sheet that you're making whenever you're doing the printing. So for us, we have a very weird range of work. So when I say commercial letterpress printing, we're talking about something like this that could be an order of, 500 to 2,000. You could be talking about, packaging material, right? With foil stamping. You could be talking about hot foil business cards, right? That could be run in 100, 200, 500,000s. You could be talking about edition printing or fine chapbook printing for writers. This is for the state poet laureate, Tina Kane, whose signature you can see right there. She was too cheap to do foil stamping for her signature, but that's okay. We'll forgive her. No, it's cool. It was good. Why you wouldn't put foil on there anyways? It has nothing to do with cheapness. It's an aesthetic choice. I just wanted to see Lois cringe for a second there. Success. anyways, but so the point being that we'll do anything from a run of, 50 to 100 wood type posters. This was a recent print we did. This is a rainbow roll for another fundraiser, right? And something like this, literally, I think it was, 20 or 30 copies. And so this is the same job. If you're curious, you can see the difference on the two different stocks with the exact same ink, right? Very comfortable back here, very safe. Anyways, the point being that for us, the definition of commercial letterpress could truly be something that's much more fine art oriented, where you're editioning a piece of work for an artist. It could be something of one of our own work. It's a piece by Lois. It's a map of the Rhode Island beaches, right? To something that's, very what you'd expect for more commercial letterpress packaging. This is both printed letterpress ink and hot foil stamp for the logo. So there really is a weird mix of things that we do. As far as the history of the shop, I graduated in 1994 from printmaking, immediately started working in commercial offset printing. So for any recent graduates or young people out there, or recently laid off old people out there, in terms of trying to get into a world, really any experience that you have is going to be helpful down the line in terms of a job. So right out of school, I started working as a commercial offset printer actually I was working at the Johnson & Wales University print shop. So I was doing both typesetting as on the computer using, in those days, I believe it was a PageMaker. And I would call my graphic design friends when I didn't know how to do something like moving two things at once by holding the shift key. So you can also bluff your way into jobs. Either way, worked in commercial offset printing in Washington, DC, in Providence, moved around a little bit, and then was always doing letterpress printing on the side. And eventually, after my daughter was born, who's now 17, in 2002, pretty much decided there was enough work working part-time that I could stay at home, continue to work part-time, and eventually that turned into a full-time. And now here we are with myself, pre-COVID, 3 full-time employees, and lots of very dear and loyal customers out there. So that's kind of a history of how we got here. Trying to think if there are other pieces here. What you can do, if you're wondering what you can do with letterpress, it is endless. So of course there's coasters, right? If you're looking for a whiskey flavor wheel, I'm sure these are getting a lot of use. I bet when they designed this, you're like, who's gonna actually drink all that whiskey to find all those flavors, right? But with this virus, I bet people actually have started to run out. You never know, right? Coasters, business cards, public service announcements, right? We've got public service announcements in English, public service announcements in Spanish. Basically, the point is that there's a lot of different things that you can do, keeping in mind that because of every job we're treating as a custom job, the setup is a lot of the time and a lot of the expense to get things going. So when someone is coming with a low volume job, it can often be, we want them to print more to make it make more sense, but anything is possible.
So this is the part of the tour where usually, since we're not on Zoom, I can stand in front of Dan and kind of say like, let's mosey, especially because we can't see any of you. I'm assuming you're all affixed to your phone screen or computer screen with rapt attention, but let's take a walk, Dan, if that's okay.
Yes. So what we're gonna do is a very quick tour of the equipment. There's a job that Lois actually has on press right now. She's gonna be using a press, which is right there. You guys see it. It's a Chandler and Price. Oops.
You wanna mute your computer?
Bring the computer?
Just mute your volume.
Okay, I'm muting myself. Anyways, very quickly, this is a press from the 19-teens. It's the first press I acquired. Most of these things came from somebody in a print shop calling and saying, hey, I've got this thing, it weighs 5,000 pounds. In this case, it's 1,600 pounds. And it's yours free if you can move it by Friday. This press, along with another one, was in a shop called Ward's Printing in Newport, bought new, I think, in 1913, 1914, delivered there. And then we moved it into our first shop on Valley Street in Providence, probably around 1998, I think, when 97, something like that. This is a platen press, so I'm going to move over and hold the phone to show you what's happening.
Hello. So Dan showed you earlier a piece of wood type, that question mark, and we primarily today print from what's called a polymer plate. So this is actually a plastic printing plate that we're making from a black and white film negative. Dan is saying something to me.
No, I'm just smiling because it's going so well.
Sorry, everyone. So I have a polymer plate here, and I've already printed the first color on this job, which is an orange. So to operate this press, it's hand-fed. So I'm actually going to insert each sheet by hand as we print. So we've already got a little pile that we've worked on. And this always looks scarier than it is. So I've got that first color, and we're just adding this turquoise layer. And that's the CMP. So you'll notice that this job has crop marks on the border. What we'll do is let these dry for about a day or so and then trim so that everything has a nice tidy border. So Dan and I are going to switch places now, and Dana's going to show us a different style of press.
Half foil?
Half foil.
Sure, okay.
Okay, we're going to wander this way while Dan finds his mask.
Okay. All right, perfect. Okay, so what Lois was just doing using the CMP, unlike a lot of the presses that people may have experience with, which are cylinder-proof presses, right? It's called that press is called a clamshell press, which is similar to the press we're just sort of using. What that means is instead of having your type flat as the cylinder rolls over it, you actually have your type here, and the press is moving back and forth to make the impression. So it's the rollers are inking the type, and then the press is coming to make the impression. So in this particular case, this was a job that we had run earlier. This here is the polymer plate, and you can see that tiny bit of relief there. This is KF95, so it's 95 thousandths of an inch, right? It gets exposed to UV light. All the rest of the polymer is water soluble, so it washes away. That gets mounted into the press, and then it gets printed onto a sheet here. So we're just going to basically walk you through one or two jobs in terms of how they would go. So we would have the design here to do on the computer, any typeface, as long as it's going to make sense for letterpress, etc. Turns into a piece of film. From the film, we make a plate in our polymer plate maker, right? And then on the press that Lois was just running, we will have printed this card. Now, over here, you'll see we have all of those pre-printed cards ready to go. And this press is a Heidelberg windmill, right? And the main thing here is it's very similar to what Lois was just running, however, it's automatic fed. So that instead of hand feeding, it's going to be feeding automatically. And it's called a windmill because it turns these grippers spin around in circles when it's done. While it's going, the gripper is going to pick up a feed. Now, the main thing here is this is not printing with ink, okay? This is printing with foil. So basically, you've got a heat and pressure sensitive metallic foil here. And what's going to happen is the plate is hidden back here. It's a magnesium plate.
Dan, can you speak up with the press?
Yeah. So there's a magnesium plate there, also designed digitally. You'll see in a moment that it's the client signature, right? Here is the foil. And what happens is under pressure, plus heat, it adheres the foil to the paper. Okay, so if you have a dark paper, but a light ink, sometimes we'll stick it to foil, like a white, you can't print the white ink very well, so you use white foil. In this particular case, they wanted the sort of glisten, right, that hot foil stamping gives you. And so that's one of the things for us with the experience of commercial printing is that these are things that are much more used in trade commercial printing. You can use them as an artist or a designer, and you go, so I'll just show you this running. What's going to happen as it feeds, automatically, it's advancing the foil as much as you can adjust how much it folds, right? So you're not wasting foil, and it can foil for your fingers. So, there we go. As you can see, it's coming out right here. There's foil stamping, and then, we have two Heidelberg windmills on the other side of the room that we use just for ink. The Heidelberg really truly is like the sort of Cadillac of small format letterpress presses, because it can print, I don't know if you can see here or not, but really in super fine register. And large sheets, small sheets, thin paper, small paper. This press is probably from 1950s or so. Most of these presses, I'd say the oldest presses are maybe 1890s and 1950s. Now, what we're going to do from here is we've got our cards. Instead of trimming this down along the prop marks, we're actually going to die cut them. So come this way. We'll go over here.
So I know that was hard to hear with the foil machine operating. So Dan will make this next demo on the quicker side, and we can kind of walk you through the process during the Q&A.
Can you imagine how much fun we have working together?
It's barrels of fun. And I've worked here for...
I'm going to go 7 years.
I've worked here for 9 years.
8 to 9 years. 9 years. Hey, congratulations.
So this press is called a Kluge, and it's really similar to the CMP, which was our first press. So it's going to operate like a clamshell, and Dan is going to feed this one by hand. So Dan, why don't you show us what's happening?
And the only difference between this press and the CMP, which we saw earlier, is that the rollers have been removed. We've just taken them out. And then this is a cutting die. So you've got this spongy material that holds the paper still, right? And then underneath it, you can't really see, but there's actually a piece of cutting rule, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to take our flat paper that we've pressed out, we're moving it in here to our little guide pens, okay? I'm going to turn on really quick. This one's pretty quiet. See, look at that, okay? Then it's going to go down, and for every single impression, right, we're taking, starting with these flat sheets here, and here we go. We've now die cut these business cards, Plinko, and there you go. And so this is a lot of equipment here, but every one of these presses does something a little bit different. And so this is something where you could have, a pickle-shaped business card. You could have round corner cards, whatever it is you need. Die cutting is the thing that saved a lot of this equipment. Because otherwise there just was not any use as things switched to offset printing. Okay, thank you very much, Elizabeth. We'll put you here. Really quickly, we'll show you very quickly another press. It's a cylinder press. Really quickly, another type of work we do is art additioning. Okay, this is wallpaper for the fellow RISD faculty, Andrew Raftery, who is insane. Yep, Andrew, I said that.
Dan, how many colors is this?
I'm going to say it's about 8 or 9 colors. Right here. See one more of these guys right here. And so this is wallpaper that he's been doing for the last few years. He does a lot of transfer work where he prints lithographs onto ceramic plates. And then he originally started these as backgrounds for plates. So we've now done one over there. I think that's summer, which was the night scene. We did a winter scene. We did, that's fall, summer, spring. And then this is seasonless. Right? And you can see here really quickly, we have these are our job sheets. Yeah, for every job. These are the polymer plates. He will have cut all of these drawings by hand, right, using a Rubylith. And then we use the Rubylith, let's get to the actual colors here. So that's the first 2 colors. This is 2 colors, 2 colors. Well, there's a blank color there. 3 and 4 colors. I think that is 4. That was this is the first color that's behind everything. Then we added some more shadows here. Then we added the two greens and eventually added these blues here. Weren't quite satisfied with some of that, so we added a fourth pass. And so this is a run that was done, it's wallpaper, so it's done in a run of 2,000 copies. So to do 50 copies would be rather expensive, but to do 2,000 copies, things can start to make sense. And so one of the other things to remember is that this is not what you might think of as letterpress, but there are ways of making this process work. Okay, very quickly, we move over here. We'll show you the cut copies. One of the other things that we have here are two hot metal line casting machines. So what that means is much of the work we're doing, as you have seen from polymer plates designed from digital files, we're hand setting type and metal type, we're using wood type for posters, and we also cast type. So this machine right here is a linotype machine, and basically it's the machine that replaced handset typesetting. So from Gutenberg in about 1450 to really up to 1880s, pretty much any commercial printed material would have been set by hand, okay? Gutenberg's contribution really was the printing press. Handset printing from movable type had been done in China as far back as the 8th and 9th century. In Korea, in the 10th through 13th century with metal type. On paper, Gutenberg came across the same idea, brought a converted olive or wine press into it, and then also was able to use this new material paper coming into Europe from North Africa. And his timing was such with the Renaissance, et cetera, that it finally took off and has not quite left. This machine, basically, 1880s, the presses are powered. Presses are about as fast as you can go. The big sort of jam, hold up in time, was handset typesetting. So if you want to make a book, if you want to make a daily newspaper, you are setting the entire paper by hand, line by line, letter by letter. You are printing the entire paper, and then you're putting away all of that type and having to restart before you can do tomorrow's paper. This machine...
Stan, we're not going to be able to hear you.
Got it, okay. This machine was invented in 1886 by Ottmar Mergenthaler, who was a German immigrant and watchmaker. It has 3,000 moving parts and basically ran the typesetting world from about the 1880s through mid to late 1970s. What's going to happen here is there's a keyboard, right? And the keyboard is set off in terms of lowercase, numbers and figures, uppercase. Everything is proprietary, frequency of use, right? The mechanical typewriter is also coming into existence at this time, so there's no set layout for keys, right? This machine, what's gonna happen is every time I type a letter, I'll turn it off again. Okay, every time I type a letter, it's gonna drop in matrix. And a matrix is the reverse casting for letter, right? So that's the letter K, okay? Same thing with any figures. We have a special affinity to manicules around here. Anyway, so right here we have a little bit of typeset, some breaking news. This is the thing about this machine. It does breaking news, okay? I just type that in there and turn on. What's going to happen when I go to cast, yep, is this type here is going to come up, move over to the casting. It's going to drop down to the mold. There's a plunger in the back that's hot molten lead at 540 degrees. Plunger is going to push the molten lead into the mold, whatever type you have set, okay? Out it's going to pop a slug. It's going to go up to the top of the machine. And then depending on this tooth combination right there, okay, it's like a reverse key. It's going to ride along the top and it's going to automatically sort itself into the proper slot. So we're going to go cast right now. Here we go. Watch out because that pops up, as you know. Looking good. I don't see any typos. Drop down. Oops, I just realized. So we'll see. Okay, it's not set to reset. I have it set on a 12 I just want to make sure there's no lines. Think. Okay, let's put it up. I don't want to be on italic. Okay, try that again. There, and what I'm doing right now presenting to the, okay, ready? Okay. Okay, and so then here we have a slug, a little bit hot, okay? Now this is the breaking news department. We've got our breaking news. We're gonna come over here. This right here is a chase. Chase is what you lock your type up. This is a very messy composing stone, okay? Pop that up. Need to pop that out, no problem, no problem, looking good. Okay, take that out just one time so we don't need it, that looks good, perfect, perfect. All right, then, okay, and take this, here's our chase. All right, that's gonna get thrown into the press right here. Right now we're just making proof. This will be printed and published later tonight. Turn this press on. And I think this is the last press demo, right? Cool. And then we're just gonna print it. So this again is a line press. Okay, so it's inking the type. And look, here we go. Breaking news. Kamala Harris will be the Democratic nominee for vice president. You heard it here first, folks. Okay, and these are some of the things that we keep ourselves busy with around here. I don't know if there's any other equipment we want to discuss. This type here is not set. Well, look at the hot crucible to go around. It's not set on the linotype. It's a little too big, so that's set on the machine over there in the corner, just because they can see that. Okay, and traditionally, 1920s to 1970s, there's your foil. When you're done with your type, you just drop it in there and it melts. And so this would be set for the headlines. So that's actually hand set, just like your hand set and type. And then you can press it. Lois, do you have any questions?
No, I think we're ready for the Q&A.
That sounds
okay. So we're gonna mosey back over to our computers. And I see some folks have already input questions, which is great. Feel free to ask us anything. And I know it's kind of hard to hear with the machines running. It's always easier in person. Okay, I'm gonna switch. So Dan, take it away.
Oh, sorry about that. Hi, everybody. If you have any questions, let us know. You can always email us in the future, but here we are.
Okay, sorry. Yes, Dan, I have all of the questions.
Yeah, don't forget, so important. You guys see this? This is news right here. You heard this not on the internet. Oh, wait. You did hear it on the internet. Yep.
Okay, so let's see. Our first question is from Lauren. Hi, Lauren. Oh, she has two questions. Which machine was your most recent acquisition?
Man, do you have any idea? The challenge?
I don't know.
Well, here's the deal. So when it comes to acquisitions, it's a bad habit, right? And so I try to avoid those phone calls if I know someone is like closing shop or they're trying to reach me about something. I would say the most recent press acquisition probably would be, we didn't show you the cylinder proof presses, but we have a third cylinder proof press, because if you have two, why wouldn't you need a third? Which gives us about an extra inch or two of length. The thing about printing presses is that, anytime you're printing something, right, you always want to print something that's just like a tiny bit bigger, which means your press gets 4 or 5 times bigger. So I'm going to say it was the challenge, but I don't remember.
I think that's right. Lauren has also asked, how long did it take to acquire all of these machines?
So I would say the first press that you saw, the C&P, which is over there, that was probably about, I think I talked to the owner of the place in maybe 1995 or so, 4 or 5 or 6, and then left town for 2 years. And by the time I came back, the shop was gone, working late at night on an offset shop on the second shift. And there's faxes coming in saying equipment for sale, and then got sucked back in.
I think the fax machine is a good indicator of how long Dan has been collecting.
Oh my God, yeah. You even noticed. Yeah, so I would say over the years until, what are we, 24 years-ish, something like that. So I guess that's a long time. The trouble with any printing thing is that you will fill the space you have. So I was in a 400 square foot space for a little bit. I rented another garage. And then once we moved here, things just keep coming through the door.
Yes, Dan is a reformed machine hoarder, everyone.
Yes, reformed.
Let's see, next question is from Laura. What is a ceramic plate? Re the fine art print you showed us. So Andrew Raftery, who made those beautiful wallpaper prints, actually also makes engravings that are then transferred onto physical ceramic plates. And so he installs a panel of the wallpaper and then the plates hang on that wallpaper. So it's a really interesting installation. And he's such a wonderful draftsman. It's great to see his work come through the shop to mix with Dan's printing expertise in terms of color and how things will work best for the process. Okay, Laura, thank you. Megan has asked, did you just melt down the line of type that you made, or what happens to them when you're done with your breaking news?
Yes, that is a great question. And yesterday's news turns into today's news. Very simple. Yeah, it's a constant recycling.
And Megan, that metal is called printer's metal. It's primarily inert lead with a little bit of tin and antimony. We get our lead levels tested very regularly and are always really low. Sometimes people have a concern as we talk about melting type. Anba has asked, what type of ink binders / formulations are typically used, oil-based or water-based? Great question.
Lois, would you like to handle that?
Well, thanks, Dan. So primarily, I would say 80% of our inks are oil-based, and I would say probably the other 20% are a mixture of rubber-based inks and also some inks that are specific for printing on vinyl. So the rubber-based inks will stay open a lot longer and won't dry as quickly. So for instance, that press that Dan showed us at the end of the tour has a rubber-based black on it, and it will stay printable for probably not as long as it has been on the press.
Again, if you're running it every day, you could leave it on all week. With the Linotype, I was running those every day for a year.
Right.
And so we maybe didn't clean it for 2 months and then it was bad.
And because the letterpress process is a relief process, we're pushing the type into the surface of the sheet. Those oil-based inks are actually drying pretty quickly. So, you know, we'll stack prints on top of each other as we go. Okay, let's see. Sandra has just asked for some reference materials for her daughter who just got her first letterpress. Welcome to the Machine Hoarding Club.
Oh dear.
Sandra, would you mind sending us an email and we can kind of put you into a good resource list if that helps. Our email is info@DWRIletterpress.net. Okay.
And I would say very quickly in terms of equipment, there's briarpress.net, and in terms of a lot of the museums now, there's a printing museum in Massachusetts, the Museum of Printing.
Sorry, Dan, I left out that she's in Washington, D.C.
Oh, there's a place in Baltimore, the Museum of
oh, that's right.
Industrial History, I believe, and they actually do have a series of online tutorials. But we'd be happy to discuss more.
Perfect, send us an email. Okay, let's see. Peter Heller, do you have any Vandercooks? Maybe those are your proof presses.
We do, in fact. I can't stop myself, so I'll just go like this really quickly. We have a Vandercook number 4, an Asburn, and then there's a Challenge press over there in the corner. We really do use them as proof presses. Like that's how they were designed, so that, you know, if it's a short run poster job, it's very easy to set something up in the Vandercook, you know, this involving die cutting, but literally you can throw the type together, put something on the press and have a proof, you know, in minutes. And so we'll use them for short runs, but you know, truly I would be using it to proof some linotype type before putting it onto one of the production presses.
And I like to use the Vandercook for longer posters. So a standard sheet size in the Vandercook is about 14 by 20 inches. With the Vandercook, you can actually run a sheet through the press twice. And oh, Dana's helping with the demo. So this sheet of paper is around, around 32 inches, which is the width of our paper cutter. And I printed it in 2 chunks. So that's what I like the proof presses for. Peter has also asked, on a given day, how many of these presses do you use?
That's a frequently asked question. And I would say today we are at 1, 2, 3, 4. And today is not a busy day. So, you know, within a week, it's conceivable that all the presses have been used for some production work, just because they are truly all, so actually it's 5.
Oh, that was very loud, Dan.
And yeah, because they're also specific, right? It, you know, a week could go by where literally you're using every single press, which just justifies more hoarding. So thank you for the question.
I will say, Peter, that that's one thing that sets our shop apart is that we have a wide range of presses and equipment. So we really can tailor the press to the specific job, whether it's a small run or a long run, just in ways that other shops aren't quite ready to handle. And also the hot metal department makes us a little bit more unique as well. So Peter, thank you for the question. Megan has asked, this is also hands-on and personalized for each job. Does it ever make sense to make one print, like for a gift, or for price is more copies better? So with letterpress printing, most of your cost is associated with the setup. So you're totally right that more prints is going to be a lower price per unit. That being said, we will really print almost anything. We're just going to try to get you to print more than one.
So an example would be like, we do a lot of wedding invitations and wedding work. So like a ketubah is something that somebody might want that's very special, right? Mm-hmm. And, you know, you're not going to want a whole pile of them, but it's just, you know, instead of being, you know, $120 for 200 prints, you're talking about $120 for a single print. Right. That's not a direct quote. Please do not bother Lois or me with that quote.
No, please contact us at info@DWRILetterpress.net. And one of us will get back to you with pricing.
And if there's any producers out there to take this comedy show on the road, nothing else is happening.
Okay, let's see. Shanna has said, not so much of a question, but a comment. I took a letterpress elective during winter session one year and had so much fun. The machine I used was very analog and I love seeing the range of presses. Thanks for the tour.
Thank you for the comment.
No, that was good. Let's see. Megan has asked, I understand how the text comes about, but how do you make the unique pieces of art that are pressed, like a signature or logo? So in those situations, clients are sending us a black and white PDF and we're making a piece of film or a negative. So in fact, this piece of film is what's on the press right now. And so from that film, we're making the polymer plate, and we really have unlimited options in terms of typefaces, image, it really depends. That being said, we also do have a huge collection of wood type and metal type. So we are able to make posters and business cards. It all depends on aesthetic and what a client is open to. We love to work with clients that have a project already designed and spec'd and ready to go. We also love working with clients who want to work with us on design, or our favorite clients say, here's some money, I need the cards to save this, see you in 2 weeks.
Those are our favorite?
We don't have any of those clients, so I thought if I said they're our favorite.
Oh, Linda Daniels was our favorite. I don't remember, it's been so long.
Let's see, Carter. Oh, hi, Carter. What small printing related pleasures are keeping your spirits up? Miss you too, Carter. Carter, we miss you. Carter was a former intern.
Pleasure? That's something I don't think I've experienced in a few months. Next question.
Okay.
No, what am I doing for fun? Well, for example, I would say clearly, right? I don't know if it's fun or not because the topics can be somewhat sad, but doing the work with the linotype daily is it gives us an outlet to use this material in a way that it was originally designed for, and also in sort of new and different ways. but it gives us an outlet to use this equipment to communicate with people, often saying things that, you know, are overdue and people might want to hear.
And this piggybacks onto a different question that Sarah Dunn has asked. Hi, Sarah, about how our campaign went that I recently completed. Oh, yes, Dan.
Things like that.
So Sarah asked about a poster campaign that I worked on last year and this one had some weird spacing. We'll just ignore that. Oh, thanks, Dan. And Sarah, it went great. Thank you. So for me as an employee of the shop, it's a wonderful resource to be able to come in and say, okay, I have this commercial equipment available to me. How can I use this in my art practice? To me, commercial printing is really appealing because it is a media of the masses. It means that I can make a bunch of posters and give them away for free, or sell them at a low enough cost that people can buy them. I think sometimes when people think about traditional printmaking, it's a print that lives and dies in a gallery. It doesn't have a lot of active engagement. And so for me, this style of printing, letterpress, just makes everything so fast and so attainable, if that's helpful. And Dan and I actually kind of overlapped, and this was Dan's Linotype Daily project from earlier this week.
In this mode, because not only is printing a great way of communicating, but hiring airplanes to fly huge banners over the beaches of Rhode Island, which Lois did yesterday, is also a great way of communicating. Yes. It's all about the human connection.
That's right. Let's see, Andy says, a bit of history inquiry. Do these presses have a relatively common place of production origin, or are they from all over? So that's our doorbell, which means possibly there's a client. Can't believe that, maybe. So Andy, to answer your question, it's a pretty big range, but you'll see different clones of press styles from different countries. So Dan has a press called a Poly Automatic that he does the art editioning on. And that press is primarily, that press is made in Germany and has, that press was made in Germany, and the only other press of that kind is in the museum of that manufacturing company. Some presses are from Germany, some presses are made in the States. The time that all of this equipment was made, so 1915 at the earliest, you know, up through the 60s, 50s, things were made in such a way where everything is built to last. So we have a lot of cast iron, we have a lot of steel. Things that go first are the rubber rollers or rubber trucks. And we're lucky in Providence to have a lot of different metal workers who can actually weld cast iron, which has been really convenient. Andy, did that answer your question? If not, type it in again. Okay, Jana, hi, sorry. You guys are great. Thank you, you're great. I'm sorry if I missed this, but I remember you showed pencils on Instagram. Which press would you use? Hi, Dan. So Dan, why don't you walk over to the pencil machine? So what, I'll walk over to this?
No, I'm doing it.
So, no, Dan, take your computer.
What?
Take your computer. Well, I was trying to get Dan to show you the pencil printing machine, but it's a two-step process. We cast a slug on the Linotype or the Ludlow. So again, we're limited in terms of the typefaces that we have.
Okay, let's Lois on the computer.
And then we put it into a pencil foil stamping machine, and it actually has only one job, and that is to foil stamp pencils. So we can only foil stamp on hexagonal pencils, which is how the machine is set up. So on the left side, there's a hopper that the pencils go into. Yep. Perfect. Excellent. Okay, he's feeding the pencils now.
So
that's okay, Dan.
Okay, here we go. Yep, perfect, no problem. Okay. So basically what happens is you have your Linotype slug right there. So basically the reason we have this machine is because we have two Linotypes. So your Linotype is there, it's getting heated, just like the foil stamping machine. Excuse me for 1 second, later. Okay, it's being heated there, there's the foil. The machine goes on, okay? And then what's happening here is, oops, it's very delicately and gingerly, 1, 2, perfect, okay. It's feeding the pencils there, okay? And I'm gonna turn it on again. The pencils shoot over from there, right? They're getting stamped on. You're not gonna be able to see the stamping here because it's not quite warm enough. But if it was functioning properly, you might get a pencil that Lois made as part of her Simpsons Moe's Bar crank calling set. And it says, Seymour Butts. Is there a Seymour Butts in the house? Yep.
Thanks,
Anyways, that is our pencil machine. Hi, Zana.
And I will say too that in terms of the samples that we've showed, a lot of it is tricky to see over Zoom. So we are happy to send out samples if you're interested in seeing something for a project. We are also taking in-person meetings. So you can just shoot us an email or give us a call at 401-831-3120. But you can also see samples of our work and what we've been up to on the shop Instagram page, which is at DWRI Letterpress. And Dan's personal work is up at the Linotype Daily on Instagram, which is more work similar to Wear a Mask in Spanish. And Dan actually started that project last year as a daily art making process. So last year was a leap year. So I'm actually in front of a wall that has all 366 prints. So for both of us as working artists, it's amazing to have this shop as a resource. And I would also say that Dan has a Patreon for his-
Oh, I do.
Yes, for his Linotype occasionally, where you can subscribe and help support the work.
So that's at patreon.com/ let's say it's Linotype Daily, but I don't remember it. The Linotype Daily? Who knows, but you can find it in the bio on Instagram.
Yes, that sounds right. Okay, let's see. Michelle is here from Smudge Ink and Mass. Hi, Michelle. It's always great to meet another printer. Lori Whitehill Chong says hi. Hi, Lori. Great to see you. Let's see. Okay, follow-up oh, sorry. She says no need to read this. I've almost read it. Let's see.
Read it.
Yeah, we'll read it later.
Yeah, okay.
So we have about 5 or 10 minutes left. Are there other questions that we can answer? Anything about the process, about how we work, how we ended up here? How did we end up here?
I don't know. I hope everyone is staying healthy and doing well, number one, because this is a crazy time. And this is it. This is the secret solution, everybody.
Yes.
Wear a mask. Okay.
Sorry, we have one other question.
Yes.
Amy has asked us what our phone number is. So Dan.
The shop phone, it is 401-831-3120. If you call it right now, you can hear our funny, weird sci-fi ring. We won't answer.
Please do not call it right now. It is very loud. I would say email might be a little bit better in terms of reaching us. We have a little bit of a funny schedule in the shop right now, just so that we try and minimize who's in the shop when to see, to minimize contact.
And you really will get, by going to the website, if like you do have those kinds of questions, you will get a pretty good sense of the kinds of things that we do, but we're happy just to answer any emails that you have and go from there.
Let's see, Susan has asked, what type of papers do we print on? Good question.
So I would say a huge variety of papers. Because of all of our joint experience with commercial printing, commercial letterpress printing, there's a line of sort of commercial papers called like premium, blah, 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 blah. But there's a lot of very nice non-cotton affordable papers that print incredibly well. So like Mohawk Superfine would be one. Mohawk Via has 100% post-consumer waste paper that we'll use. We will use a number of 100% cotton papers. There's Crane's paper from Massachusetts. Savoy paper, I think they may be, Savoy is all from Massachusetts.
Yeah, yes, but that's sort of a long way of saying the range of papers is huge. So if you are planning a project and have a little bit of extra time, if you can get us early in the process to either come and visit or, we can work with you over email. Because we work with these papers day in and day out and year after year, we may be able to say, okay, the paper that you kind of like is actually close to this paper, which is a lot more economical. Or the paper that you like won't quite work with your design. So if you want to keep the paper, let's make some small additions. Our goal with any printing that we do is to really make the letterpress process shine. And to do that, we just want to give you as much information as we can. Adele says, do you also print, make folding cartons or other 3 dimensional printed objects? And the answer is yes. So that's a die cutting process. So we'll start with a flattened box shape, and we can either work with you on that shape or we can help design it. And from that flat box, it actually will fold up into a carton or up into a package, depending on, oh, great.
So like this would be printed flat.
Can you flip it, Dan? No, I'm sorry, flip it so there's no printing.
Oh.
So you can see there's a series of scores and cuts and tabs that all lock back together. We do a lot of die cutting though. That's definitely something that keeps us busy. And in addition to die cutting, we also do some scoring. So when you get a greeting card, usually that's been commercially scored and then folded.
This would be a fold out CD cover. Yep. CDs, newer than fax machines.
It is tricky to characterize the work that the shop does because it is so varied. And that's one of the things that I like about working at the shop is that every job and every client is a new project to solve and a new thing to troubleshoot so that the outcome matches the client's expectation.
So one day we might be printing 20,000 black and white, tiny, tiny little envelopes right next to printing 25 rehearsal dinner invites. You know, it's really, it's kind of
exactly. Strange. Okay, any other questions? I think you have 6 minutes left. Otherwise, you're just going to watch Dan and I awkwardly talk at each other.
Someone was rushing me through the tour.
Yes.
No. Trust me, I could go on for an hour about something very uninteresting.
Yes. I think it is tricky on this digital format too, just to hear everything and see everything. Amy has asked what our website is, and it is DWRI Letterpress.net. And I think that's also hooked up to the shop Instagram account.
Yes. Yeah, and the DWRI basically came from being a young person in Rhode Island with lots of dirty t-shirts, and a friend said, hey, you should start a company. Instead of being Donna Karan, New York, it could be Dan Wood, Rhode Island. And then 10 years later, you're like, hey, that's a great idea. It's a horrible thing to have to answer and say on the telephone, so I feel a little bad, but now we're stuck with it. Yep. Is there anything else that you would like to share, Lois, about the state of the world or the letterpress printing business?
I don't think so. I think part of the resurgence of letterpress printing is that people are really appreciative of something handmade. So something that you can't see on the tour is the great texture of the text interacting with the surface of the paper sheet. And that's really why people come to letterpress. There's really no other way to do it. And we are planning to send out a mailer maybe next month, as I look at Dan.
Yes,
so
September.
In September. So if you would like to receive one of those mailers, just send us an email and we're happy to pop one of those into the mail. The mailers are a great excuse for us to remind people that we're here. Hello, and also show off a little bit of the style of printing that we can do.
And I would say, just as a last bit on that too, is that, you know, we are truly coming to these projects as artists as well as activists and people who want to be engaged in the community. So we do a lot of poster work with a lot of events recently, which is another thing which is lucky to have equipment where you can literally set something and print it in a short period of time. And I would just like to make a shout out to all of the people out there, no matter whom you are working with, for supporting letterpress printers and local businesses in general, because it is very difficult for a lot of people to keep their doors open. So I just want to say thank you for supporting your various local businesses, supermarkets, printers, whomever it might be. I would imagine this being RISD Alumni, it's possible there's some freelancers out there. So keep those freelancers busy, and that's how we keep all of this equipment running. So thank you.
Okay, I think we can wrap it up. Thank you so much to everyone who's joined us. It was great to have you with us in the tour. Please reach out if you have any questions. We're always happy to quote a job, or if we're not the right fit, we're happy to send you to another shop that is. And thank you so much to the RISD Alumni Club of Rhode Island and the RISD Alumni Office for inviting us in. As two RISD alums with the third alum also on staff, it's always great for us to reconnect with fellow alums.
Okay, RISD Alumni Club, is there anything you would like to share as we wrap things up. Are there any other last minute questions that popped up? Do you guys have any questions for us that we didn't cover? Is that them hanging up on us?
No, I think that means we did a great job.
Yay, we did. High fives to the camera.
Thank you so much.
This is the best way to end a Zoom call.
Wait,
Okay, thanks everybody. Are we
Thank
still
you.
on?
Take care.
Hey, oh, the participants are dropping fast.